There's nothing like a pandemic to make everyone want to develop their personal resilience. But what does this actually mean, and how can we be more anti-fragile? Welcome to Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom, where we look at the latest hot topics and business challenges impacting the people side of organisations. Stick around to the end, where we will talk about a practical top tip. And also, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe and make sure you're notified of the next one in the series. Hi Tom, how are you today?
Excellent, thank you.
Fantastic. So we've talked a lot about this word, anti-fragile, and I know this topic gets you quite excited, and it's also something that, is so relevant to what's going on in today's world. So tell me a little bit more. What is anti-fragile all about?
The term was invented by Taleb in his book Antifragile, and I can certainly recommend to read the books of Taleb. And I like the concept because Taleb describes anti-fragile in a sense. You have fragile, then you have something like robust, but what comes after that? And he says anti-fragile. And anti-fragile is something that you are able to take advantage of adverse conditions, that under stress you are able to, in a sense, resilience is bouncing back, but antifragility is bouncing back at a higher level. So I like that a lot because it's taking advantages of things like the pandemic, saying, well, okay, what can we do? Not only as individuals, but also, of course, as organizations.
Yeah, I think particularly relevant to business and organizations when we look at the complexity that we now operate in. So that's really interesting because it also extends on the concept of resilience. And when I've looked at resilience in the past and done some research for myself, what I really liked was this idea that you have to ride the ups, but the downs, and actually knowing that there's things in life that are just impermanent. They're not going to continue. So the good doesn't always continue, but the bad doesn't always continue either. And you need to sort of ride this wave of life. However, you've mentioned that, with resilience, we're focusing a lot on just this bouncing back. And is there maybe the wrong type of focus in how we're developing people in organizations around being more resilient? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it's interesting. There is a recent research of, it was ADP and Marcus Buckingham. They looked at resilience in organization. One of their hypotheses was, well, the more you are exposed to negative things, the less resilient you become. But the conclusion was the other way around. As you said a little bit, well, the more you are exposed to, in a sense, you could say negative things, the more resilient you become. And I think that's an interesting finding. So that leads to what you're saying. So, well, can you learn people to become more resilient? In that same research, I don't have it here at hand, but they looked at countries, and surprisingly, in some countries, people are more resilient in the workplace than in other countries. And I'm Dutch.
Why is that? Yeah,
the Netherlands was very low on the list because we pamper people maybe a little bit too much, and but in countries like Mexico and India, the life is tougher. People are more exposed, but as a result of that, they are also more But the same research it showed also that trusting your team leader, for example, is a vital element in resilience.
Yes.
So it's yes, adverse conditions, but maybe in a safe environment or with people around you, not only your team leader, that give you a kind of you could say psychological safety. And psychological safety is also an important element when you talk about resilience.
And I was actually going to use the exact same word. So psychological safety, I think, is so important here, because it's not, you can't just sort of go around exposing everyone to these really negative situations and think that that's okay. But it's about that, as you said, sort of teams together, knowing how to talk about things not going well just as much as when things are going good. So we should, yes, celebrate achievements, but it's not about just being always positive as well, isn't it? It's about saying this is not working or something's gone wrong, and how do we learn from this and how do we grow from this? Yeah. So talking about failing in many ways as well.
Yeah, and not everything has to be nice. And so
Yes.
that's also where I have a question mark with the whole happiness and everybody
Yes.
has to be happy. Well,
Yes.
maybe, but at the same time, you learn a lot from things that don't go well.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
being exposed to it.
Yeah.
It's the same discussion we have around how do you educate children. Well, if you keep them in home and they're not playing outside, well, you create children that are not and maybe not so resilient or anti-fragile, to use that word,
Yes,
as they
exactly.
could be. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, and this is it, isn't it? The biggest learning I've ever had in my life have come from my biggest failures, and but you've got to, I suppose, have the resilience to be able to see that and move on and grow from that as well. So if we take in anti-fragile, which is taking advantage of these situations, what else would you add to this sort of development roadmap? What do we need to do in organizations to build anti-fragility?
Don't keep negative experiences away from people, also in the organizational context. Maybe expose them more. It reinforces the need for teams with solid, good team leaders. So I think in all circumstances, it always comes back to, yes, we need team leaders that care for their team, that care for their people, and are able to support them. And as you said, I think it's also, don't get stuck, because it's not all positive. So there are businesses, a lot of businesses these days, that are under threat, and if they are just waiting until things turn better, well, then they can wait a long time. So the anti-fragile organizations are already thinking, okay, how can we change our business? What kind of new business can we do? It's difficult to turn that into action, but it has to do with scenarios, developing new scenarios.
I was going to say, scenario planning, and also, talking about something not going right and what are the different choices we can now take. There's also one that
can I just stop?
Yeah.
You mentioned the options. I think that Taleb also mentions that all the time.
Okay.
Make sure you have options as an individual and as an organization, because having more options makes you more anti-fragile. If you only have one route to go, that touches your anti-fragility.
Exactly.
Sorry,
And actually, it made me think of something that I came across a while ago, which is challenging toxic assumptions. So if you, in your strategy, every now and then go, well, what are the things that we think are just going to keep happening? We think a pandemic is not going to happen, so we just kind of carry on as normal. So what are the toxic assumptions that underpin our business strategy? And go and test those and look at your options if some of those became undone. And this is a really nice way to make it a bit more robust, as you're talking about in terms of your strategy. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Tom, again. This leads to a practical tip, and I'm going to lead on something that's written by Oliver Burkeman, who is a great person in this area around how do you ride the wave of life, to read. And he talks about, look, you're just not going to get everything done in today's world. And we are so stressed by being overwhelmed by our to-do list. And the mixture of business, human ambition, and technology means we're just not going to get through it all. And actually accepting that is really liberating. And I've tried to do this a lot myself, and it's great. And then you start focusing, well, what is the one thing that I really need to do today that's going to make a difference, that's going to be the most important thing to get done? And if I get that done, I can feel good. And if you start focusing like that, rather than all the things that you still need to do, you actually feel a lot more productive, and you can control some of these emotions that are around it. So top tip, give it a go. You can even use a personal Kanban. It's great. Thanks, Tom. Great to see you again. If you like this video, please subscribe and make sure you're notified of the next in the series. And this is Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom. See you soon.